revolutionaries, this is Sylvain Rochon speaking from my little home. As soon as I make a video telling you guys I'm going on vacation, I don't know if I'll have time to do other videos for the next couple of weekends because that's when I record usually my videos. I got some awesome subjects that kind of fall on my lap in the last 24 hours, just after I recorded the last video. So this is a time travel experiment. I'm creating this video July 11th, but you're actually going to see it over the weekend because I want to kind of schedule it so that every Saturday or Sunday there's a new video that pops into your subscriber mailbox, and I want to make sure they're good subjects. And these cases, they're great. So I want to make sure that they're pushed out while I'm still near my equipment, my computer, and doing all the things that I need to do. So anyway, this subject is about an effort by the Canadian government. It's a defense policy review, which is really cool. It's a Canadian thing. Scandinavian countries also do certain things like that. They kind of try to get an honest poll of information from the population. Sometimes they do it well, sometimes not so well. In this case, it's actually kind of nice. The Canadian government, what they did, they set up a website specifically for that, providing all the information. They advertise it a little bit. I'm certainly advertising it because there are forums and different ways to communicate. And I've already sent a letter this morning to the Ministry of Defense, who's heading this initiative, and to the consultation committee that is set up by experts outside the government to review. And it's an attempt to reprioritize what the Canadian military should be used for, in particular, and that's one of the strengths of a country like Canada. We, for some cases, they really want the average Canadian's opinion on things, and this seems to be a good case. It's not always like that. So I'm going to take advantage of it, and many of my buddies that are revolutionaries will do the same. I encourage you guys, if you're a Canadian, to send some notes to the Ministry of Defense and also some of the individuals. Anyway, from the website. On the website, you'll have a lot of information about how to communicate your opinion, emailing them, and to send out what you're thinking about. And because currently the Canadian military has been used primarily for defense of the country, which has had not a lot of use. I mean, it's more like counterterrorism support and things like that, I believe. But also it's been used to as a reserve or relief for other military actions initiated by the UN in particular. Around the world, and very, very few times in the last 20 years where it actually went out as part of an offensive. Like the example would be Afghanistan, if I'm not mistaken, where they went ahead with the U.S. to try to root out Taliban or whatever they're doing over there. I mean, I'm totally against military assaults with murderous intent, whoever is at the other end of the gun. So anyway, so it's kind of rare. So it's not bad position, but we definitely, the Canadian military certainly has to kind of have a better prioritization and better use for its military. And we're paying taxes into this military, so we should have a say. So let's have a say. And as the subject of this video, the video suggests, every country should be allowed or directed to do something like this. I mean, we shouldn't put the military in the hands completely of our politicians and making them take decisions as to what we should do with it. I mean, we know what kind of disasters the U.S. is having because of the military actions, covert, not covert, black or transparent operations. The country's in a mess. All sorts of dangers directed to the U.S. A lot of countries want to mess them up. or curtail the economic advancements. And all. I mean, they're in a terrible situation where they created a situation where they have to defend themselves in certain ways to prevent disaster using the military, which is wrong. Because they were too aggressive and they're trying to impede in every other country's territory and tell them what to do. And anyway, it's a big mess. So the U.S. citizens should claim the right to decide what their military should be doing and where their priorities should lie, and let the experts kind of decide what the exact actions that should be. Because we as citizens, we don't really know. We know what we want as a country and as a population, and what our military should be doing in a general sense, but we don't know how to apply that, right? So because we're not experts, in military, in defense, and all that stuff. At least I'm not. So just to let you know, like you should pressure your own governments. I think that would be the recommendation I would have. To get some kind of referendum, some kind of opinion committee of consultation or review, so that you guys should be able to prioritize what should our military be doing. Like in the example of the states, let's take that as an example, and then I'll go to what I wrote to the Canadian Consultation Committee in a minute. And I am putting down the website for the Canadian Defense Review and stuff, so you can take a look at how it's structured. But for the U.S., what I would recommend, like my personal recommendation, if I would live in the U.S. and I may have to move to the U.S. for a few years, actually, for a project, so I'm going to get concerned pretty quickly. As the U.S. military should be like all forms of military, including even the Black Ops, like everything, right? No exceptions, should be used exclusively for the defense of the people of the U.S. in the U.S. Okay, using exclusively non-murderous means. So using weapons that neutralize, that don't kill. Of course, people would probably get hurt and killed by accident. That can happen using neutralization technologies. Sometimes people get hurt or sometimes get killed, but it's not for the intent of killing. And be passively defensive, not actively defensive. You don't go out, build bases everywhere. Like the U.S. is in, I forget how many countries, over 100 different countries they have bases. Get those back. You don't need those. This does not protect citizens in the States. If people want to travel, do business elsewhere, there's other countries have their own militaries. They protect their own countries and all that. I mean, that should be sufficient, in my opinion. Like when I travel, I do take that risk. I have an embassy I can go to, and they'll protect me about all that jazz. Anyway, so the idea is to be a true defensive force and also a relief force, right? So there's no such thing as defending a people by proactively attacking another country like the U.S. is doing it under false pretenses. Well, actually, that's what they tell the population. We're going to defend you by going to kill ISIS all over the place and by doing all this stuff in Afghanistan. No, you're creating more terrorism, more risk for the population by doing that. History has shown it. The last few years has shown it. It's becoming increasingly more risky to be an American outside and inside the country because the military is doing that. So they're not doing their job. They're not defending shit. They are creating problems and aggressors. Getting back home. If somebody comes here, the spies and all that stuff will be able to see them coming, block them so people don't come, and then they'll calm down over there because the U.S. is not over on the foreign soils. Anyway, I've had a lot of videos about that, so I don't want to get too deep into it. But to me, that would be the prioritization. Let's get into a defensive force and also put this force in the service of humanity. Because there's other countries and other areas where they don't have strength to protect the innocent. So if there's just like if there's a genocide somewhere, the military, the American military and other militaries could join up in a military police use neutralization tactics to neutralize the threat to the innocent elsewhere when there is a valid threat, not an imagined one, a valid threat, even perhaps requested by the population that are being aggressed. Like, so it's like a global 911, if you could call it. It's like, okay, our population is at risk of being attacked. You guys know this because you have spies everywhere. Can we have your help? It doesn't cost any money. This force is financed by the strongest nations, and it's at the service of humanity to help people not die needlessly because some warlord somewhere decided that you need to be decimated, that kind of deal, until things stabilize. So that would be so it's like guardians of world peace, essentially, and of humanity, guardians of safety around the world. Okay. Another aspect that I talked about is stop the purchase and sale of any murderous weapons. That includes nuclear, whatever, like guns, anything that is designed to kill. You don't buy, you don't sell anything. That means that army does not buy or sell any of those. They use only neutralization technologies, which there are plenty of. Okay, and they buy and sell only that. Make that a national policy of the American military and the Canadian military, because I'm asking the same from Canada. Okay, and the other point. Oh yes, in Canada there was a law project called Law C-272, War Non-Complicity Law. It was attempted twice. It was rejected twice. More recently, I think last year, was rejected a second time. But I'm strongly for this law, and what it is that essentially if it's eventually put into motion and accepted into law, it would force the Canadian government to put an option when we do our income taxes, whether or not we want our tax money that we pay, go towards the military budget or not. So that's what they call the non-compliance to war law, because the current military is designed for war, not for defense and what I described like to be like a neutralizing force and a peace force around the world and in Canada, that kind of deal. And I would totally not pay any taxes to our military if I had that option. So I would, so a lot of Canadians feel that way, like we should have the option. It should be put into law, but it's been rejected twice so far. This law should be put back on the docket and accepted so that we have the choice. Now, the Canadian military is converted into what I was talking about, reprioritized into this guardians of world peace kind of entity, as well as defense of the nation. But strict defense, again, I reiterate, strict defense using non-violent means, not non-murderous means. Okay, then I would totally check that box and say, okay, my taxes, totally no problem. I have no problem giving a percentage of that to the military if it's structured that way, because that would be not only would help me, I would feel that it would actually be helping me. I know that I'm not paying for something that's going to kill other people. I will be helping other civilizations elsewhere, other countries and other peoples on the planet. When they are in need, our military will be mobilized to help them out if they can't defend themselves, right? So that's a great thing. That's like a peaceful revolutionary. It's like, okay, people are in need, we help them. But we don't kill to help them, we neutralize, right? If the US would have something like that in place, and they're really strong, large budget, large population, combined with a Canadian component, which would 10% bump in help, that would be good. Like in number of soldiers, I mean, maybe, I'm not even sure. I think probably less than that. That would be like already a pretty awesome force in the world with great technology. If some of European countries join in because they follow up. And there's no national militaries available for any sort of that are using deadly force at all. You just use those technologies that we already have, convert them into neutralization technologies, and wow, I mean, that would be a powerful force. I would totally be for paying some of the taxes. And just a small point, because I've had a lot of questions about the Bill C-272. People are under the impression that if we check the box and opting out of spending, giving our taxes to the military budget, it would actually reduce our taxes. No, that's not how it works. That's how it works is that, let's say you're paying, I don't know, $10,000 of that year in taxes. I'm just using a round number here. And there's about 10, I think here it's about 8.7%, which means $800 would go to the military. Well, that $800, if you check that box of non-compliance, that $800 would just be spent elsewhere, not in the military. It would be spent on healthcare, would be spent on the school system and other government programs. So you still spend $1,000. You still are taxed $10,000. Just no dollar goes to the military. It just goes. It's spread around further in other programs, which is really good. So anyway, so 3 points. Like if you want to call for it to for your government to get some kind of some kind of refocus of prioritization, you should ask them for these 3 points. One, get yourselves an option to opt in or out using your taxes into whatever form of military you guys have. Okay, that would be it actually puts pressure to, because there's a financial component, to direct the military where the people want it to go. Because if you check the box, you agree with it, then you're okay. I want my tax dollars to go there. It's because you agree with it, and so it would keep the military funded the right way where you want it to go. Okay, no one wants innocent people to die, so logically it would probably go further in the right direction of the peaceful revolutionary, right? Second point, transform the conventional military, all forms of military that the country have, into neutralizing force. I would call guardians of world peace, like I described. So completely defensive for your own country, and also in support with other militaries to protect the innocent elsewhere, using neutralizing force only. The third point is pass into law as a priority. Like the military does not buy or facilitate or encourage sale of any murderous weapons whatsoever, for any reason whatsoever. So those would be my recommendations. Of course, different countries have different ideas. You can adapt it. But that would be my strong recommendation on how you can propose it and see if you can have it passed. The more countries actually speak this way, the more people speak this way, the more it's going to happen. If there are model countries, including possibly Canada, that convert a little bit their military in different ways to make it more peaceful, passive, peaceful guardians of peace. Sorry. Other countries that are more belligerent or more militaristic or more warrior-like the US, eventually may follow suit. Sometimes it takes time and effort, but every little bit can take hold a little bit, like a seed in the ground. Eventually, something grows out of it. Sometimes you have to be patient, but you got to do something. We have to act as peaceful revolutionaries to do things in a certain way, and then keep pressing on it, keep talking about it. Other people will join in, use social medias, advertise it, get the word out. And eventually these seeds kind of grow into a forest. And then the politicians and the people that are currently in the powerful positions don't have any choice but to listen and to change a little bit and to do something. And us ourselves, like I mentioned all the time in our videos, we can build new systems on our own if we have enough support among each other, among the population. We are the power. Constantly, we are the power. If we don't do anything, the people that are in power will do what they want on their own. If we do something as individuals, and we take action as individuals, they have to follow us, either by by following our demands or our requests, or by adopting the system we build on our own that is concurrent to the current system, and they just bow down to us. Okay, well, the population is using this. We're not using this anymore. We have to use what the population has built. Both avenues require support, help from each other, and actions from individuals. So get cracking, guys. I hope you're going to have a great time advertising that to your friends, and hopefully it makes sense to you guys. And we'll have a world of peace that's super beautiful if we get there, supported by our great technologies, AIs, robotics, all this cool stuff that I often talk about in my videos, without the fear of terrorism, fear of all sorts of stuff happening to us anymore, because we're no longer aggressors creating that chaos elsewhere and hate elsewhere. All right, that's going to be it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you again next time. Ciao.